Just because the weekend's afoot doesn't mean that there aren't drafts that have to be done. It's draft number 111 for me on the year, streamed on Splash Play. Today we head to the world of drafters where there's no playoff pods, 17 weeks there, so you don't have to worry about making it to the finals. You're in the finals no matter what. It's total points, and you also get that full point PPR that we don't see a lot of. Of course, I am already in a draft room here on Drafters. You can see we got 28 seconds until it starts off, and we're going to do some full point PPR drafting today, try to find some fun players, try to have some fun as we always do here. Which ad do I put up here? I think we should put up the Drafters ad if I had to guess. There we go. You go use the promo code SPLASH on Drafters as well if you haven't played on there. You are somebody that plays on Underdog a lot, I would recommend giving Drafters a shot. The format there is basically one that Underdog stole for the marathon tournament they had. And Drafters has been doing it for a few years. And so we talked about a few times on stream here. Last year, I finished number 107 out of the 100,000 entries, I think there was, whatever many there were last year. I only put in 9 entries, finished top 110. A lot of people in the community finished top 25, even top 100. One guy finished top 10. So that's what you have on Drafters, like a little bit of a softer pool. And because you don't have the playoff pods, it's just less of a luck component involved. It's all about those total points. So it's the main stuff to keep in mind on Drafters strategy-wise. Obviously, you're a little bit less worried about week 17 correlation, that you can sprinkle that on top a little bit if you want, because you do want your team to spike when it matters most. But it's not as much of a deliberate thing as it would be on Underdog, where you're just trying to beat a 5-person field. But overall, strategy going to look a lot the same. And we'll see here. Maybe a little more open to the hero RB kind of builds, the elite QB kind of builds, the elite tight end kind of builds. Maybe we could do all of that in this one. We're picking the 11 hole, though, because I feel like drafts in general, Underdog and Drafters have agreed. I just don't deserve 101s this year. I think they've decided I didn't do a good job with them last year. Maybe I'm the one that got Justin Jefferson hurt because I had 16% of them at the 101. But this year, I'm just stuck in the back half of every round always, and we'll make it work. Shout out to the chat. As always, we got a lot of our guys here. Our guy Sladen is in. Sladen deposited with Drafters this week using our promo code, so I appreciate that. Our guy Zone Chuba in, who I just saw join the Splash Play VIP Discord by hitting that join button down below for $4.99 a month. Glad to see him in the mix. Glad to have you guys here. Many GMs floating around. I feel like, are you guys missing avatars here? Did they get rid of the generic avatars for YouTube? What's going on here? I'm confused. Any word in the Drafters drinks promo? I don't think they're doing it. I just suggested it to them, but I can only suggest. For me, I get paid affiliates when you guys sign up, and they did this little sponsorship fee for me, so I can suggest things for them. But ultimately, I'm not like in the lab with Drafters like Pete is with Underdog for Underdog Cardio Club. All right, Breece Hall here at pick 11, which is an appropriate price tag. I do love Marvin Harrison, but we're gonna scoop Breece here. Maybe a little bit worried about getting Avalanche, but hero RB, I think we can go on a wide receiver run here, and hopefully we'll be able to do that with our next pick coming up. But Breece, again, if you're going to give me Breece at the 1-2 turn, I'll do it. That's been my point. As I mentioned in my Spags rankings here, if you don't pay for those, I've talked about a little bit on stream. I bumped Breece Hall behind A.J. Brown. I bumped him behind Puka Nacua. Still have him ahead of Garrett Wilson. Still have him ahead of guys like Devontae Adams, who goes early here. We get Drake London back, which feels kind of fun. This is a tough call, Harrison or London. I think Harrison is the better player. London, the better fantasy situation, I guess, in terms of what, the newness of that. I'll go London here, slightly lower ADP on him. And I think that works, but I would have been very happy to have Marvin Harrison there too. So a Breece Hall, Drake London start here. Hopefully you guys can see it. I had to move the sizing around a little bit of the window because it was kind of weird. So everything looks okay. Here, maybe if I expand it a little bit more this way. I don't want to cross out the logo. It's probably as good as we can get it for right now. Miley, by the way. Oh, sorry about the. You're Miley virus. Okay. No friendly fire. I think you're fine. Again, Drafters, we worry a little bit less about people in the rooms with you because of the fact you're not in the same pod. With Underdog, if you are with the same people in draft slot, which is my pain point that I mention here on stream sometimes, more than often enough, I'm sure for some of you guys out there, is that like you're not only you're getting double taxed, where if there are sharp people in your community, if you're a streamer and if people are drafting in your rooms, you're then playing them in the pod. You're also then obviously going to have teams that are competing for the same players, sometimes also competing for the discounts at ADP. On Drafters, obviously, you're still competing for some of those where same players, you're only getting a certain amount of players in a room. You're also going to have less guys, available at big discounts, usually in rooms when you have a lot of sharp drafters. But it's not having the pods, I think, is a big part of it, where you don't want to eat your own. Like, I think that's the biggest part to me is like, even if, you guys are a better drafter than me, or I'm a better drafter than you, whatever the case may be, when you are constantly doing like the same pods over and over again, you're just cutting your EV when you're much better off competing against the people who are drunk off their ass on a Friday night. You're better off competing against people who aren't paying attention while drafting a team at work in the afternoon, which according to ETR is the best time to draft, around like, I think 12 to 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So like, that's the kind of thing there where, doesn't matter as much on drafters. So for my benefit here, that's why it's on Saturdays. Saturdays, we just get to relax. We get to have a Golden Monkey beer here. Of course, the local Philadelphia beer that I've enjoyed before I lived here. And that's what we do on Saturdays. I've already spent 45 minutes outside in this East Coast heat wave because my kid, we had to clean up the cat's litter box. She has one of those disposable litter boxes. I mean, the second we go outside to take out trash, like we have to then play outside. So 45 minutes outside this morning in the most sweltering heat. And this USC shirt, though beautiful here, shout out USC, maybe one year we'll be good again. Not very breathable. So I was out there fucking dying. So I'm doing great in the Saturday morning here. Garage beer. We have a garage, but my garage, like, I feel like garage hanging out is more of like a Midwest thing, right? Maybe a little bit in the South where you have the front room over the garage. But I don't know. To me, like I have a basement. That's like my little man cave area. I like that. I would like to have the garage converted into like a little outdoor bar, but money wise, we are not there right now. So that's the downside of it. There's this really sick TikTok account though, that is somebody that converted their little garage into like a pub. I think it's like Mittens or something, like named after their dog or their cat. Very cool setup that they have there, which is like the dream to me, to have a bar and then also have every arcade game you've ever wanted, where it's like, you have your ice hockey, or your air hockey, probably not ice hockey. You have your air hockey if you want to play it. You have your bowling, your skee ball, whatever. That's my dream. That's my dream. If I win BBM, I don't have $1.5 million. If I win drafters and BBM, now we're talking $2 million combined, then we're going to be doing great. And I can declare myself officially the tribal chief of best ball, as I've long dreamed about. Terrible in Jersey too. Just stream all day for the people. The bad news, like I think we're gonna have to go to the playground later too, because my wife has been on a big playground kick with Luca. So I am not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to walking. I did my 3 miles of walking yesterday in that heat. Had the white shirt on you guys saw on stream, and I'm out there doing Girls Gone Wild. It's not a good time out in this heat on the East Coast. I hate sticky East Coast weather, man. Not my fave. Knew it. Ohio. I could see it. See, when you said hang out in the garage, I know it's a Chicago thing. I'm sure everywhere else around that region. Everything tastes better if it comes with the garage fridge. I mean, like we have a beer fridge in the basement. I mean, that counts too. But yeah, the extra fridge, my in-laws have a garage fridge in their place in New Jersey. And I do like going out there to get a beer. It's a nice little process. You got to like walk a little to go to get out there. All right, we got Zay Flowers here. Feels like a good pick. Zay, to me, as I've talked about, an underdog, one of my highest exposed players, kind of surprisingly to me, but I love the spot for him. And if you're picking at the 1-2 turn, to me, him as part of your zero RB build, him as part of your making up at receiver kind of build, I think it works a lot. A little bit of a discount on Laporta, but maybe not enough of one here. And theoretically, we should be live for Kyle Pitts later on. I'm going to go Christian Kirk here. Just a little bit of a discount on him. A lot of week 12 buys is maybe the one flaw here. I get caught in these fucking bye week conundrums a lot. We got a Breece Hall, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk start. I'm happy with it. I think the team looks good for what we're trying to do here. We got the anchor RB. Don't have elite QB. Don't have elite tight end yet, but I think we are live for one later on. So I like the setup here. Do you think the build where you grab the one running back and then you really hammer receiver hard in the first couple rounds is a popular one amongst sharp players? I was listening to the ETR full podcast with Adam Levitan and Mike Leone and Justin Herzig yesterday because I only heard part of it. Finished it up yesterday afternoon. And they were talking a little bit more about the concept of like, doesn't feel bad to take your elite running back, your elite tight end, that first couple picks or the first couple rounds, as long as you're getting 4 out of 6 rounds having wide receivers. I tend to agree with that. I think I'm a little more inclined to do it on drafters where, you have more outs, I think, because of the full season scoring. On underdog, I've been really enjoying the zero RB builds this week. I really think this time of year with the way that ADPs are aligning, hero RB is good, but zero RB really, like you load up on those first 5 receivers there and you can grab an elite tight end still maybe an elite QB falls to you. That's been very fun to do this week. So maybe next week we'll do that on drafters because I don't think I've done a strict zero RB build yet. Bills fandom blinded me to even realizing Laporta was on the board. Yeah, Laporta at 41, I think, is pretty good. I fundamentally continue to believe that Kelsey should not be tight end 1 in any format. He is, though, here. He is also on DraftKings. it's not it for me. I think Kelsey, I've talked about it here, and it really, whenever I give these kind of takes, I feel like the fantasy football counselor, but I don't love Travis Kelsey doing a TV show. I don't love him. My wife sent me the clip of Travis Kelsey. There's a song that Taylor Swift does where like he's doing the like I love you back at her. Like his head is just not in football in the way you need to be when you are in your mid-30s. I talk about LeBron a lot. LeBron spends like $1 million a year on his body between personal chefs, hyperbaric chambers, and things like that. I think Travis Kelsey, if we're going to have tiebreakers for guys at tight end, when you have a young tight end who was so great in year one like Laporta, you have a young tight end who was so great in year two like Trey McBride, I don't know how you don't take those guys over Travis Kelsey. I don't know how you don't take those guys over Mark Andrews. Like to me, Mark Andrews is like mini Travis Kelsey, where he's not as distracted, I would say, but he's definitely old enough and there's enough weapons there and they want to run 12 personnel and Isaiah Likely is good and he's been good for multiple years. So I think these two guys are one of those. It's weird because I feel like a lot of content people, when I first started doing content with these guys, like they're all like, yeah, we love the young guys, we love whatever. And then you're doing content for a few years and then you start liking old guys. I think that's the weirdest part of a lot of the people I like, even like sharp people out there, because it's projectable. And maybe that's the part of it. I think people really like the projectability of Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey. And in reality, you should just be targeting how good were these guys in year one, year two, Dalton Kincaid included. And then like, what can they do moving forward? And can they be better than Kelsey? Maybe not Kelsey's peak, but can they be better than Kelsey this year? I think they can. So I don't know. I'm down on Kelsey and Andrews a lot. I take Andrews sometimes because of the Lamar Andrews thing, but I'm just not as big on these guys as everybody else in the industry seems to be. All right, we're on the clock here. Kyle Pitts did not come back, which is a bummer. This guy's got unstacked Jalen Hurts and Kyle Pitts. Wouldn't say the best build in the world, but people going to do what they going to do. AR is on the board. That would feel fun. Elite QB because we can't get elite tight end. It's a little bit of a discount. This guy's got Josh Allen, though. Going to take one more receiver. I don't think this guy's going to take Josh Allen and AR. If he does, then whatever. We'll get AR at 62, hopefully. A little bit cheaper. Squeeze in one more receiver. And Hopkins also keeps us live for a late QB, which helps. And we do have week 17 correlation. It was not a deliberate choice, but we do have week 17 correlation with Jacksonville, Tennessee right now. Said last year that Kelsey would regress from previous years. He's clearly not number one anymore. Well, it's also that they deliberately want to take touches away from him. Like Jared Wiley was brought in to be a guy that takes work away. We do push AR back, by the way. So there we go. We pushed one QB after trying to push QBs all week. It works on drafters for the short term. Team so far, let's give it a read. We'll talk more about Kelsey. AR, Breece Hall, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, we don't have Michael Pittman, which is not, I just don't love Pittman's price, so I can live with that. But I would like to have QBs as their wide receiver one generally, so that's a little bit of a downer. But getting AR, pick 62, happy to do it. And I guess it's a day. It's Saturday. It's hot. It's not that hot down here, thankfully, right now. So let's put the jersey on. Even on drafters, we put the jersey on. Drafters pays me money to do this, and they're going to get every dollar's worth when I watch me put on clothes. About to tee off, but I'll circle back to this later. Brian checking in from the golf course. I appreciate that. Best Ball Brian, one of my favorite guys to see on Twitter. Always giving out interesting takes, I think. Great take on Kelsey. You think Andrews is older, injury risking too? I don't think it's about the injury risk. I think it's more that they want to put another tight end on the field with him. They also added guys who I think are improvements in terms of the talent level at receiver, where Bateman should be better. So that, whatever, how much better we'll see. Flowers should be better heading year one to year two. Tez Walker, I think, is a better downfield guy than anybody they have. They still have Aguilar there. They now have Derrick Henry, who's going to consolidate some workloads. You have Justice Hill for some of the short stuff if you don't want to give that to Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell coming back at some point too. Like there's now enough there where Mark Andrews in the past thrived because the cupboard was bare. Now the cupboard is stocked. So I think Andrews to me, I don't think it's the same bet as Kelsey, and I'll take more Andrews than I do Kelsey. I have zero Kelsey. I think I'm with the field or a little bit below on Andrews. I just think when you have young guys who are putting up numbers like these guys, you take the young guys because they haven't hit their apex yet. We've seen Kelsey and Andrews' apex. It's not going to get better, especially for Kelsey, where they're deliberately wanting to limit his work, and now that wide receiver room is infinitely more crowded. Those aren't good things for a player. Historical anomalies always keep me honest. Jersey is on. Have no fear. Do you think Pittman will eat with AR? Is it worth getting a different mini stack with a rushing QB like AR and Daniels? Well, AR and Daniels, same bye week, week 14. That's always a tough one. I don't know that I'll say he'll eat. His target share was a little bit higher with Minshew. I think he's going to be a fine part of it, but So I think the tight end targets, that was one thing that went viral this week, or a tweet that had a lot of likes and retweets on it, was how AR had like a 30% target share going to tight ends. I think it was like 18% to Pittman. If I had to guess, that levels out a little bit. But I don't think Pittman necessarily has like 10 to 15 target upside like he had with Gardner Minshew. I think he probably has a little more touchdown equity, a little more shot at some deep plays for himself, especially relative to what he's normally getting. I think it's hard for him to pay off like a late 20s ADP. If I'd be okay with him in the late 30s. Like I've said before, if he's going where Zay's going where Tank's going, that makes more sense to me. Then it's like a little bit of discount on a wide receiver one. But not my favorite bet. I loved Pittman last year at his price tag. I caped for him really hard. This year, I don't think that's the case. See some bully tight end build going here with Kincaid and Ingram. Don't know that that's the move unstacked. People are it's a little bit of a weird room. We have some of our regulars here, some guys who know what they're doing, and then some guys I think we're going off the reservation a little bit. So interesting mix. Really, the biggest bummer for me is not getting Kyle Pitts back. I think Pitts would have made this team make me feel really good, and would have made me want to invest in Atlanta more down the home stretch. But instead, I think we're just going to live with London as our representation there. Kelsey, I'm out on. I'll still do Andrews. That's basically where I am. I don't know if I'm out on Kelsey, but at if his price tag is going to come up, and I do think as the more casual drafters, the more redraft kind of drafters come in on underdog, I do think you see his ADP come up a little bit more to where it is on drafters, where it is on DraftKings. And if Kelsey is tight end 1, I'll never be there. Like I'm just not going to get there. I'm honestly barely taking him when he falls to like the 40s, and you can take Mahomes. I just don't buy as much in the KC's offense being that different this year. I think there's a lot of talk and a lot of wish casting about that. But even still, even if they do get the ball downfield more, that doesn't help Kelsey. So like I just don't see the logic to the steaming of that. Or we've got AR, obviously not a pick that we need to double on with Kyler Murray here. Ramondre, not a bad pick, has the contract probably coming up a little bit because of getting that money. Only 17 mil guaranteed, but that's more than most. Jameson Williams to give us the wide receiver 5 to feel a little better there. Let's take Ramondre. I think Ramondre makes this team a little bit nicer. Another week 14 bye, a team full of week 12 and week 14 buys. But I did want to leave here with one good running back, and then we'll see. And then Jameson Williams was the guy I was thinking about. I know you guys are down on Jameson Williams a little bit more. We could keep more optionality at receiver for our stacks if we want, if we don't take a receiver here. I mean, how good does the RB room need to be? I guess would be the big question. This is tough. Swift, I think, is a fine pick. Zamir White, a fine pick. JMO, explosive, though. I'm going to go Zamir White. Maybe a bit of a shocker there. I want to keep more wide receiver flexibility a little bit later on. So if I take another receiver here, I'm going to have to hit RB harder. Going with an RB room of Breece Hall, Ramondre, and Zamir White feels pretty good. The downside, again, we don't have the elite tight end in this build, but I'm happy with the start. Let's give this team a read. We've got a lot of week 14 and week 12 buys. AR at QB, Breece Hall, Ramondre, Zamir White, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins. I think especially for full point PPR, London, Kirk, and Hopkins to me are like gold. Zay Flowers, maybe a little better in half point PPR, but not too dissimilar. And the RB room, I think, is sick. And also, I guess some risk here for full point PPR with Zamir White. Maybe Swift gets more pass game work. Zamir White concerns me a little bit that Dylan Labe is already getting first team pass game work because of the fact that Labe should be like a legit like game breaker in the pass game. Zamir White is a guy that needs to just get the volume there to do it. But if Zamir White has a red zone role, has a goal line role, I think that could be enough for him along with 15 to 20 touches. So that's my logic, but tough call for me between Swift and Zamir. I probably would usually go Zamir. Or I would probably usually go Swift, rather, in most of these spots. Kirk's so solid. Kirk is definitely better for, I think, a full point PPR format to me. I have a lot of concern about him getting enough touchdowns for an underdog half point PPR format because you do have, like, again, Brian Thomas, a red zone beast. ATN gets good red zone work. Trevor Lawrence does take a little bit of red zone work away running. And then you also have, you just have a lot of ways you can go that are not Kirk. Ingram, too, is probably due for positive touchdown regression. But I think Brian Thomas there is a really big threat. And if they use Bigsby and Bigsby's actually good, maybe he takes a little bit more in the red zone away as well. But I think between the 20s, like Kirk to me is a lock to have you a lot of like 8 for 80 kind of games. And for this format, for full point PPR, happy to get all the 8 for 80 games I can gobble up. JMO equals spike weeks. I mean, look, I am team JMO. You're going to have to defend him to me. A lot of people out there down on him, but I think people just miss the fact that just not having Josh Reynolds there is one of the biggest parts of that Detroit offense. It's going to have a big trickle down for everybody else who's left. And the biggest beneficiary should be Jameson Williams. Could certainly be a more Amon-Ra. Could certainly be more Laporta. Could be Gibbs and Montgomery in some way as well in the backfield. But I think that really JMO's the one who, if he seizes those Josh Reynolds targets and just rolls them into his, probably more explosive plays, more touchdown equity. That's, to me, the bet on JMO. Even though I didn't take him here, I'd be happy to take him in most builds. Ingram, yeah. Ingram and Kirk, I think, much stronger in this format than underdog, personally. With you on the bad position luck this year, nearly 130 drafts deep in the contest for underdog and drafters, 101 so far. That's really bad run out. That's the random number generator punishing you. But I know, like, for me last year, I had a lot of 101. So worst year to have it with Jefferson missing so much time. But I knew I was due for some negative regression because, like, I had legit, like, double the amount last year, which, you know, they can't hold, unfortunately. Try as we'd love to believe that streaming influences them enough. They're like, yeah, I got to give this guy some good picks. No. A lot of the back half for me so far. But the good news is in the back half of drafts this summer, you're probably due for more 101s, more 102s, 103s. That'd be the hope. Shout out to all you guys watching live as well or after the fact. Appreciate all that. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. All of your engagements matter a lot to me here. I'm a solo proprietor trying to make it work. So please do that. And of course, really goes a long way if you sign up for drafters as well. I have a lot of fun drafting these teams here. It's a little bit of a break from underdog to me. The full point PPR also makes you think about players differently. Check it out on drafters. It's $100 in bonus cash and really good rake back as well. You get a free entry if you put in 10 entries on there and up to 7 free entries if you put in 100. So a lot of benefits there to going on to drafters. I feel like they're just taunting me right now with Jaden Daniels being available at pick 107. 2 week 14 buys. I mean, come on. Jaden Daniels unstacked. We'll figure out the stack and we'll figure out a third QB. We got 20 rounds. I don't care. And frankly, one thing that I do take solace in, which I wouldn't build around, but it is something to note. A couple of years ago, the winner on drafters didn't have Jalen Hurts for the last, what that was, 3 weeks of the season. So you can get away with missing a QB's week of points here on drafters a little bit more. And we're going to try to get away with it today, I guess, is the takeaway. Wide receiver. All right, wide receiver. Oh, we got a lot coming up at wide receiver that we want to get. Could make RB really rock solid, though. But I think we have to get ahead of some of the guys I want to take at receiver. So we're going to take Jahan Dotson now. I want to get some correlation, obviously, with Jaden Daniels now that we have him. Would also like to get correlation with AR coming up. So I have to get one of these guys now because they're all clustered together as the logic there. But this team so far, an AR Jaden Daniels team, sue me out of whatever. Week 14, we'll take the 0 or we'll add a third QB later on. Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Zamir White said, look, I think we're going to win QB in this particular build. I think we're going to win RB with Breece Hall having a legendary season. If I want to make that bet myself a lot, no. But in this particular one, that's the bet we're making. Wide receiver, we got Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Jahan Dotson. To me, that's a room full of PPR studs, so I'm happy to have that. I think this team works for me. Got to add a little more at RB, maybe 2 more guys now that we didn't take a guy in these last couple rounds. But I like to start. Meyer seems like a nice click for full PPR. Sure. Dotson revenge tour. That's the thing there. Dotson moving outside. Dotson getting the big glow up. Really, I'll say it if you're new around here. The glow up that the Houston receivers got with CJ Stroud, I do anticipate the same glow up happening for the Washington receivers with Jaden Daniels. Like, that's my belief. That's my big bet of the year. I make it frequently, trying to make it a little bit less so to level out my exposures on underdog. On drafters, though, I kind of need to make them count. So I'm really happy to go to Jaden and Dotson here. Just tack on Nixon, mate. Yeah, I'll tack on another week 14 bye. Get even better. New Adam was here earlier. Old Adam. Old young Adam, as I've called him now. Yeah, there we go. There's new Adam. New Adam. Woo! New Adam. All 3 of them at once, you say. Adam. Oh, the esoteric bits we do here on Splash Play. But you know what, Adam, man? You're the star. You're the star. You deserve it. Dotson. Thaddeus excited to see Dotson. I'm happy for that. Oh, your dog hated those notes. Too bad, old Adam. Too bad. Sorry that your dog doesn't like celebrating. Sorry your dog doesn't like New Year's. Is that racist? Is your dog racist as well? Racist against New Year's? Hate to see it. All right, couple of picks coming up here. Who else do I have any hot takes on this guy? These guys in this round? All right, so this guy stacking, hopefully. Yeah, this guy's stacking good. We got one guy into 3 holes actually doing stacks. Kudos to him. This guy, all right, so this guy took an unstacked Jalen Hurts. Now he's got Debo stacked up with Brock Purdy. So look, we're correlating. Good job, Room. You started to correlate. Sorry, Adam. New Adam's way. He's got a lot of je ne sais quoi. He's got aura, as the kids are saying. That's what I'm picking up with new Adam. All right, what do we need here? RB, fine. Wide receiver, preferred. Oh, forgettable, Adam. That's just hurtful. All right, what are we going to do here? Okay, so Rico Dowdle goes. Zach Charbonnet be fine. I think let's lock up AD Mitchell here and see what we get kicked back. So AD Mitchell, going to correlate with our AR. So we've got at least one receiver with both of our very mobile QBs. Happy to have AR and Jaden Daniels together in a build. You want Vidal here? I don't want. Is Vidal's not up for a while, man. I would not reach for Vidal ever. I appreciate this the caping for somebody, but no. Dalton Schultz, a player I think has week-to-week elite tight end upside because of the fact that there is going to be a lot of 2-touchdown games, I think, in his wheelhouse this year. Not because he's going to take targets away from Nico, from Diggs, from Tank Dell, even work away from Joe Mixon. Because of the fact you have all those guys out there, that's where the tight end can start to break loose a little bit more. The risk point of that is that like you could be a Dallas Goedert. You could end up in a situation where you just don't get enough work. But for Schultz, I'm willing to buy the upside and also willing to buy the fact that Stroud's a guy that gets the ball to the open man. So you have coverage shading towards Diggs. You have coverage downfield shading towards Nico and Tank. Like things are going to be open for Schultz to have good games. So that's my hope for him. It is one of my more exposed bets on the year that maybe gives me a little bit of pause if I think about it too much. But I do like Dalton Schultz, who's getting a share of Houston. You need a half and half jersey like Donna Kelsey. I need to have Jaden on one side, AR on the other. But I can't cut up 2 perfectly good jerseys. That's not how that goes. Eckler on full PPR. A little better, but it's still Robinson's backfield. So I'm okay with him if you don't get Robinson. You have a bet on Washington, but not a must for me or anything. But a little bit better, yeah. Do I have a lean on the Dallas backfield? It's Zeke for me because I think he gets the goal line work, but those guys are functionally similar plays. So if you draft him now, I've said this a few times on stream, so I apologize for repeating takes, but if people ask, it's my take. I really think you could take whichever one you want. You run the risk, though, of like if somebody gets cut, like let's say Javonte Williams, Khalil Herbert gets cut. I don't think those are likely, but there are rumors out there around them. If a good running back gets cut and then these guys aren't doing well in camp, you see somebody brought in. If these guys are doing well in camp, then it's probably not a concern. So, and it means that they're better picks. But to me, like Zeke and Rico are the same picks. I would just take Zeke a little bit earlier and probably as a higher priority. But you can make the bet either way you want to. Is Schultz the best Jewish player in the league? Is he officially Jewish, though? Let's see. Dalton Schultz. It is a Jewish name, but it could be like German, right? Jewish? He's not coming up. No, he's from Utah. So that doesn't sound Jewish. I don't think there's a single Jewish person in Utah. Somebody could correct me if you want. He's probably Mormon, if I had to guess. Yes, his handle used to be Bingham Baller, which is a part of Utah, I suppose. A Bingham High product. So yeah, not Jewish. Sorry to all the Jewish people out there who've been rooting for Dalton Schultz and going, that's my guy. Bad news, I guess. Oh yeah, Edelman. Edelman, good point. Edelman's probably it. And he definitely was Jewish, or is Jewish. He's still alive, as far as I know. Does Dalvin Cook play this year? I don't know. I haven't seen Jerry in a while, so not sure. Dalvin Cook, I'm sure would kill to get that Dallas job, but I don't think it's likely. Maybe his agent is. Maybe. I don't know what would make you think that. I'm not going to be the one who says it. That's true. The Jews can root for Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell, he's got a name. It's part of Seder. You say Adonai Mitchell's name as part of Seder. That's their dude. Mark Andrews is type 1. Type 1 Jewish? No, he's got type 1 diabetes. Yes, very impressive that he's overcoming diabetes. That said, still don't really want him or Travis Kelce in drafts. Okay, coming up here, pick 155. Some of our favorites are gone. Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, two guys that always make up my RB rooms, I feel like. Definitely, maybe a blind spot, you could say. Nick Chubb here, kind of think we have the ability to stomach a Nick Chubb in this lineup. Nobody else I really need to go out of my way to get at this point, unless I want to strengthen up. I'm going to take Hunter Henry here, and I'm going to think about Nick Chubb. If Nick Chubb comes back, I'll take Nick Chubb. I guess, well, I shouldn't say this because we got Miley Virus in the room. Nick Chubb comes back, though, I'm willing to take him. If not, I can live with it. If Miley Virus takes Hawkinson and Chubb on the same turn, that's quite the ballsy move. But Chubb is just less valuable in total points, I think. I guess you can make the flip case that, like, if you can cover for him enough, then maybe he adds more value. But I think he's less valuable if I had to guess. I will take the shot on Nick Chubb, though. Pick 158. No RBs here, like Jalen Wright, Jaleel McLaughlin, Algier, Chuba Hubbard. Bucky, I would take over Nick Chubb, but ADP doesn't agree with me. I think this is the time you take a shot at Nick Chubb. You have guys you expect to produce early. You have guys you think can keep you afloat if Nick is going to miss 8 weeks, hopefully not 8 months. So I think that's the hope. Let's give the team a read, though. We've got AR, Jaden Daniels. We also have 2 week 14 tight ends, I'm now realizing. So 2 week 14 QBs, 2 week 14 tight ends. Solid RB room, I suppose. Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Zamir White, Nick Chubb. Wide receiver, we've got Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Jahan Dotson, and A.D. Mitchell. So we got our Washington stack, got our Indianapolis stack, singles for both. And we have Dalton Schultz and Hunter Henry at tight end. That makes me feel like a good tight end room, but we do theoretically need a third QB and a third tight end. So that's the downside. Good news is it is a 20-round draft on drafters, so that is another unique wrinkle compared to Underdog, and even compared to the marathon tournament that Underdog has, that has roughly the same format, but half-point PPR, 18 rounds. Right? I think it's 18. So here we get 20. AJ Dillon, yeah, I believe he's a convert, I think, right? I don't know. Might be confusing him with Amari Stoudemire. Very similar guys. My first Chubb share this year in any format, 100 drafts, Team Ford. I am also Team Ford, but I would take Chubb in the 160s if he were there. I think he's a good bet if you have an RB room that can withstand the potential for legit 2 months of zeros. And if he gets out there and he's good again, it's also a steep hill to climb for him to get out there and be good again, recovering from an ACL at his age. Anybody post 25 recovering from an ACL is a little bit tough, but, I think when he's a guy in your room with Breece Hall, Ramondre, and Zamir White, those guys are hopefully bell cows. Riskiest one is Zamir, probably. Would it make sense on draft to pair Chubb with Foreman since they're both fairly cheap? Interesting thought, because then you can capture maybe the touchdown, the red zone goal line work for Cleveland, like entirely the entire year. It's not crazy. You run the risk that Ford is just better than Foreman while Chubb is taking his time to recover. I guess that'd be the flip side of it. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think that's not a bad idea. That's a good thought process, if nothing else. And they're cheap enough that, yeah, I think you do that. And maybe I'll do that today. Honestly, not a bad thought. But definitely a risk that like Ford can become the back. Like Ford is good. Ford is good at every facet of the game. Wish he were a little bit better in the EPA stuff, but like I like what I saw from him. He's got some shiftiness. What was his avoided tackle rate? Please tell me he had a good avoided tackle rate. Otherwise I'm victim of the same thing I accuse other people of. Jerome Ford. Yeah, Jerome Ford, 18% avoided tackle rate. Negative 0.2 EPA per rush, negative 0.15 EPA per pass. That sucks. But he got the ball well. He avoided tackles. Those are the main things I'll fall on for Jerome Ford. Just wish he were a little more efficient. If he were efficient, he'd be a guy that I would really full-throatedly go. He should be a part of every zero RB build, kind of like I did with Jalen Warren last year. But I think he's good. And I think he's underrated, yeah. At his ADP, he's definitely underrated. All right, so we have, I think, a decent pocket to grab a receiver here. Got to also think about setting up a third stack. I'm going to take McCaffrey to increase our bet on Washington for now. Still got another 5 rounds left. Michael Wilson just fallen, huh? Dobbins, not a bad pick. Tacking another tight end on wouldn't be bad. I feel like we might be coming up on a QB run as well. I'm going to take Bryce Young here. Give me some points in week 14. I think it's possible that Bryce Young outscores Jaden and AR 1 to 4 times this year. I think that's probably, it may be generous, but I think he can do it a few times. I'm going to take Bryce Young. I'm thinking about him correlating perhaps with my third tight end is what my current thought process is. But let's give the team a read. So we got 3 QBs now. We have AR, Jaden Daniels, and Bryce Young. We have Breece Hall, Ramondre, Zamir White, and Nick Chubb as our RB room. Want to add a little bit more there, but there's nobody on the board that I felt like I had to grab now. Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Jahan Dotson, A.D. Mitchell, a.k.a. Adonai Mitchell, the best Jewish athlete in sports, Luke McCaffrey, Dalton Schultz, and Hunter Henry at tight end. So you could probably guess what I'm thinking for tight end. I think that's basically how that looks for right now. Michael Wilson seems like a 0. I don't agree with that. I think Wilson is going to play ahead of Zay Jones. I think he had a good enough camp. It seems like he's like in the mix with the guys enough in terms of the rapport, like talking positively about Marvin Harrison. They seem like pals already. There were some nice coach quotes about him being smart and getting better. And he also was pretty good EPA wise last year. He was like a 0.2 EPA guy, but for how he played in college, him showing anything positive, I think is good. He's going to not have as many shots as targets as he's got last year. Like that's going to go down, but he should be even more efficient with them. So you do run the risk that like he can be played off the field by Zay Jones, or you can get blocked because Zay Jones is just like a good wind sprint runner out there who's going to block well and do that. But I think he should play ahead of Zay. I would hope he does. It'd be much better for that team to play him because you want to have that young core getting there, but maybe he splits routes with Zay. Either way, for him in best ball, I don't mind, but not the biggest fan in the world. Do I think Dobbins has a good chance at a good season, or the injury is probably too much? I think it's tough, man. Like it's tough to overcome the history of injuries he has. I'm still going to take him when the price is right, but it's not one of my favorite bets to make. And it is a bet as well that like if I have other things going on, I can go a different direction. I'd be happy to do that. So that's my feeling about him overall. But you know, you can talk me on both sides of the equation. And it's one that I'm a little bit wishy-washy on because he was so good last year. He's one of my biggest bets last year that I had at running back. So it bummed me out. Looked great week 1, then goes out immediately. But I do think like he's got talent. It's just he's now getting old enough, and you're talking about compounding injuries and also a really low guarantee for him, only $50K guaranteed. And that's not enough to keep him on the roster. So those are the concern points. But Gus Edwards being hurt probably increases his chances a little bit. The guy I think is sneakiest overall in that Chargers backfield is Isaiah Spiller. Nobody talks about him. He's getting a lot of first team work with Edwards not available. And also, you know, Dobbins, I think they were kind of intermittently resting him. So I definitely would watch out for that a little bit more as we go. Not the biggest Dameon Pierce guy. Would like to get the 5th RB. I'm going to take Tank Bigsby. So I talked about enough here. I like Bigsby as your RB6, RB7 enough. For this format where we have Breece Hall, we got Ramondre, we got Zamir White. I'm willing to take Bigsby here as RB5. And I think that's going to make us done at RB, barring somebody I really want to take. But Estimate went in round 17. So if you're going to get Bigsby at the end of 17 and Estimate ahead of him, I actually think Bigsby is a much better pick relative to what we know right now. Even though I love Estimate, obviously. Jelani's a week 14 buy, so we're not going to do him. I think I'm going to get Jatavian Sanders here. Still have questions about him. Kind of think that Carolina is going to be a little bit Indianapolis-y with their tight end room, where Ian Thomas has had a good camp. Tommy Tremble's made a few good plays. Not a lot of positive talk of Jatavian Sanders, even though the draft capital would make you think that he's a guy that should be on the upswing. For Jatavian, though, for me in this build, we got Bryce Young. We just want to have some correlation with him. That's the main logic there. So hopefully Jatavian can see the field. I think he needs better signal, though. To me, I think I've heard enough people go, Jatavian's like a lock to take in round 18, right? And I don't think that's the case. I'd rather have, you know, on underdog in particular, would rather have the Noah Fant, would rather have Juwan Johnson there. I think those guys are better picks right now in Jatavian. but he's good enough. What days do I stream drafters? Hard to find good streamers. Not many do drafters. First of all, I appreciate that. But every Saturday morning, yeah, I do drafters. I do drafts Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. Might be possible I have to move drafters next week because we are going to Virginia Beach for a week with my wife's family. So stay tuned here. But usually it's going to be drafters every Saturday at 11 a.m. And then Monday to Friday, I'm doing BBMs at 11 a.m. That's how the schedule goes here. Appreciate you asking, though, Mikey. Thanks for coming out and go play on drafters too. Again, if you're new on drafters, if you haven't played on it before, use that promo code SPLASH, get up to a $100 deposit match. And I give the full recommendation, really do. I have to give the full credit to Zach over there as well, one of the founders. He's the guy I deal with for all my stuff. He really cares about the product. It's a big part of why they gave that big rake back stuff in the Drafters Million where it's $15 entries, but you put in 10 entries, you get one free. You put in 25, you get another one free. If you put it up to 100, you get 7 entries free throughout that process. So they do a lot of stuff on there. They're trying to make it appealing for the best ball diehard. So for some reason you haven't tried drafters yet, I would give it the full plug. And again, I'm really impressed too with like how they do seem to care about making a good experience. I think it's me half the battle, obviously. So 2 more picks coming up here. Give the team a read just to kind of recenter. So the team so far, I think we've covered pretty much every position as much as I feel like we needed to. We got AR, Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young, Breece Hall, Ramondre, Zamir White, Nick Chubb, and Tank Bigsby. Hopefully Chubb is the secret weapon there for the team, but really I'm anticipating losing 8 weeks of the season for him. Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Jahan Dotson, A.D. Mitchell, and Luke McCaffrey. So some correlation later, some, I think, solid floor and ceiling guys earlier. Then we have Dalton Schultz, Hunter Henry, and Jatavian Sanders at tight end. So tight end room, clearly the weakest spot. I honestly think with Jatavian, could make the case to even take a 4th tight end, but probably not going to do that. And cheers. Here's to the weekend, guys. Sip a beer in the 11 o'clock hour. Nothing classier. Can I give you the full plug? The full plug for old young Adam is that he likes Georgia a lot, and he's not as cool as new Adam, but those are the main plug points. He'll save you no money, but he does sometimes give a membership away on stream, so I appreciate that. Fire up the joints on Saturdays. There you go. Whatever's going to make you happy on the weekend, I support it. I think with the hot weather, definitely more team cold beer than hot joint, but both have their merits for sure. All right, picks coming up here. Do we want to make a bet on Jonathan Mingo? I feel like a Jonathan Mingo bet feels like one of the worst bets in football, but we have Bryce Young. Might as well. 20-round draft. If you're ever going to take Mingo, this is the time. Probably going to push it in around 20, but it's top of mind for me. So we'll give him a shot. Jonathan Mingo, by the way, I hated last year. I'm not one of the people that then retroactively hated him. I thought he was a terrible pick the entire time. The only reason I took him is because he got the draft capital. And even then, I had like 3% of him. So not a Jonathan Mingo guy at all. But maybe if Thielen gets hurt, maybe he could be just marginally better. Wouldn't hate another RB here. Another wide receiver, also fine. Nothing is really that fun here, to be honest. I'm going to take Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, wide receiver 9 for me. Let's give this team a read. Let me shift myself over so you can see it. So we got AR, Jaden Daniels, and Bryce Young at QB. At RB, we've got Breece Hall, Ramondre, Zamir White, Nick Chubb, and Tank Bigsby. Could make the case that you could use one more RB here because of Nick Chubb. But I think Breece, if we're making a bet on Breece, I want the bet to be that Breece is going nuts. So that's the bet we're making on it. We got Drake London. So we didn't take a wide receiver in the first round, obviously, because we have Breece. But I think we made it up well. Drake London, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins. Then we got a little bit later on, skipped it for a while, Jahan Dotson, A.D. Mitchell, Luke McCaffrey, and then late Jonathan Mingo and Alec Pierce. So late correlation here being our tiebreaker. Dalton Schultz, Hunter Henry, who I think are both good tight ends. Unfortunately, both are week 14 buys. And Jatavian Sanders here is tight end 3. That's the part that worries me the most. But if we lose tight end points in week 14, it's not the deepest thing in the world. So that was a pretty breezy draft, guys. So first of all, thank you guys for watching. If you are enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe down below. Your support goes a long way here on Splash Play. It's just me doing streams here every Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m. And I do the best I can to promote, but honestly, I'm not going to ever like appeal to redraft people because I only do best ball drafts. But I show you my gambling here, explain my process in real time, things that I think are important in best ball, obviously following the data from really sharp people. And that's the goal here every day on stream. So join along if you enjoyed this one. And don't forget, four-time BBM TK Millie finalist. Go play on Drafters, though. Use the promo code SPLASH on there. It's a $100 in deposit match for you. Again, a great company and also a great way to just get some different best ball lineups in your life. Full point PPR, 17 weeks with no pods at all, no playoff pods, no regular pods. And then you also, again, have 500K going to first place there. And a lot of rake back. Really do think you get benefited by going to Drafters using the promo code SPLASH. And I'm going to call quits on one, guys. So gamble responsibly in the meantime, even though this says underdog. Drafters feels the same way. And shout out to all the fine folks with the join button down below. You'll get an update to my rankings tomorrow. Hit the join button for $4.99 a month. My rankings, 10 team reviews a month, and a VIP Discord are at your disposal if you hit the join button as my way of saying thanks for supporting the channel. And, of course, give you something back for showing your love. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And hey, guys, I'll be back on Monday. So enjoy your weekends. More Drafters next week as well. But enjoy your weekends, guys. Enjoy that heat. I'm going to go die out there soon. And of course, good luck. Bye-bye.